Hello guys. Um, I would like to deep dive in this report, which is about the Rottenham grooming scandal. I think it is really important to try to come as close to the truth as absolutely possible, and I think that is one good way to do that is by reading this report yourself. That's why I will make a link in the description. If you feel like it would take a lot of time to read it, you can also hear um, my summary of it, which I will do now, because I think it is so important that everyone read this, or at least know about this. And when I read this report, I was absolutely sick to my stomach. I was uh, actually feeling literally sick, literally want to throw up, because just it's just above and beyond what anyone could imagine. Like, I have heard about this before for years back. Now it brought up again, this Rodham scandal, but I couldn't imagine the amount of girl that was involved, the amount of victims, and the stories that these girls have experienced. So let's try to deep dive in this report. Let's try to get the facts straight. If you find me annoying in listening I don't mind at all. It's totally fine. Read it yourself. Share the truth. I don't care. Watch another YouTube video. That's totally up to you. Uh, I'm not trying to be anything I'm not. I just want to share the truth. Yes, you can like it or not. So, just a quick summary. I already talked about who made this report, which is made by the Rodham Metropolitan Council. So, just to get everything cleared out before I run my mouth any further, all the code that is made, I have texted the page where it's for, so you can go look it yourself. So if you think that this is something I would made up, or these quotes I will made up, um, you can read the report from yourself, and you can see where I find these quotes. So, as stated in page 1 of which is called the summary, it is stated that no one knows the true scale of this child sex exploitation in Runham over the years. However, the conservative estimate is approximately 1,400 children were sexually assaulted over this period of time. So that means that in the area, and we will come back to how large this area or this town, Rodham, how large it is, but 1,400 children, not women, even that will be a scandal itself, but this is kids we're talking about. So not grown up, it is children we're talking about. And if this number was like 5 people or 5 children, I would still be amazed. I would still think that's an extremely high amount for one city. But it's 1,400. That is so many. That's like a mass. Uh, I would even say a mass sexual assault, genocide, even if you want to call it that, if that statement even makes sense. I don't know if it does that, but it's so above and beyond what anyone could imagine. And just to the viewers that seeing this, when they say our conservative estimate, that means that, as they state, they don't know the actual truth, the actual correct number, but when it's a conservative estimate, it means that it might rather be higher than be lower. So the likelihood that the actually number of children being sexually assaulted may likely be higher than 1,400, then it might be lower, if that makes sense. So that's what the conservative estimate means. So yeah, let's move on. Who was the victim? As stated, it was around 1,400 children. It is also stated that girls was as young as 11 were raped by large number of male predators. So girls all the way back to 11 years old, where they might not even have got the purity, or they might not even, I don't know, have any thoughts about having intercourse or something like that. But as young as 11 were sexually assaulted by a large number of men. We don't know what they mean by large numbers, but that can be infinity high. Yeah. So it also stated that victims were raped by multiple predators, trafficked to other towns and cities in north of England. So how I interpreted that quote from the report is that not even were the children R-worded, they were also trafficked. So meaning not only did the predators use them sexually, they also used them for financial gain. So let's just completely another scandal itself. That how in UK it is a democracy. It is a I always seen it as a somewhat decent country. How can kids being trafficked, like, not like it would be in any case it would be okay, but how can kids being trafficked from towns to towns? And also stating in the report that they're using taxis and they are picking them up in school. Yeah, unbelievable, unbelievable, yes, unbelievable. So this is not a part of the report, but it's just uh, a picture of one of the victims. She calls Sammy, if I'm not mistaken. She was sexual assaulted and R-worded by multiple predators in the age of 12, I think she were, and in this period of time she was around 14, 15 years old. So just to get an understanding of the children. So this blonde girl from Rotherham was multiple times R-worded, multiple times sexual assaulted. You can read a lot of her on the internet, and you can also see a lot of interviews she had made. I will not go into any further details about her story in this report, because all stories in this report is anonymous, but um, just get a picture of who the victim were, because sometimes just talk about victims and you cannot, maybe it is easier to understand when you have a face on one of them, and that's why I made this picture into this presentation. So who was the predators? So now we have stated who was the victim, mainly not mainly, but over it was only children from around 11 to 18 years old. So who was the predators? The predators was described by the victims as Asian. And this term Asian is also used in the majority of the time in articles, in BBC interviews. It's like they really want to describe them as Asian, and you thinking as a reader, you thinking Asian, like Chinese Asian communities, is it Indian communities? But I think everyone who has heard a bit about the Rodham grooming scandal knows that the majority of the predators was Pakistani heritage communities. So just to get that clear, and also state in this quote, this report is trying the best as they can to be as political correct, um, but it is almost impossible. Yeah, it is like having a left-leaning person trying to coming up the Holocaust or something like that. It is absolutely insane to call them Asian. It's not Asian. Let's not let's not make that statement about the predators. I will, at least that is my opinion at least. Okay, so again, I know I might not be the best commentator, and I have not used a lot of time on this PowerPoint presentation, which it is. I just really interested in sharing this around. But just to get a bit clear view of what is the town of Rotherham, um, what are we talking about? Because I'm not any expert in UK, and didn't know Rodham before I read about this Rodham grooming scandal. So just get an understanding of of how large is this area we are talking about, where 1,400 victims were arbitrary and sexual assaulted. So Rodham is the last town in the north of England, and the population is around 250,000 citizens. So if you assume that the female citizens is approximately somewhat half of that, then we have 100,030 female citizens. And if we assume that the town of Rotherham somewhat has the same demography as the rest of the UK, then we have around 60,000 girls in this area. So that means, and taking the assumption that 1,400 victims, which was a conservative estimate, taking that assumption, that means that 1 in 11 girl was sexually assaulted in this area. I will repeat this statement. This means, if the math is correct, which is not any mathematical equation or anything like that. So it is, I think it's some reasonable assumption I've made. So if that is true, then 1 in 11 girls were sexual assaulted in this area. So when I'm thinking about my childhood back in Norway, it is like you have a classroom um, for like 20 to 25 children, and in this classroom you will maybe have around 10 to 15 females or girls. So that means that in each class in your school, one girl in that class were sexually assaulted by multiple males, Asian males, multiple Asian males. So that's like the significance of victim is absolutely insane. So as I stated in the beginning, if this was 10 children in one city, that would be an crazy high amount, a crazy high amount. If 10 girls was sexually assaulted multiple times, that would be a crazy amount. If I look at what is reality, or at least what I thought was reality. But this is 1,400. That is so many That is absolutely, you cannot even come up with a, like, what is this even? Like, this is a mass sexual assault. Mass sexual assault. Unbelievable. So I will not go too much in detail about this, but just to get an understanding of who was actually in control in Rodney. So I will not talk much about it, but just to clear out that the majority of the political power was on the left. I'm not an expert in UK policy, I know the fundamental of it, but I know that Labour, which you can see, has around 50 of the total elected members. 50 of the 63 elected members was in Labour. So, and Labour, I will say it is, I don't know if I would call them far left, but they're definitely on the left. Maybe you can even call them far left. I may do that, but it is definitely a left leaning political power there were. Again, how you interpret that, and if you want to put the blame somewhere, I think I will do that at least. You can also, of course, blame the police and etc. But who was actually in control? Who actually made the rules? Who actually didn't interfere? Yeah, I think that's important to state that out. So let's talk a bit about victim stories. I have already shown the blonde girl in the beginning, Sammy. But let's talk a bit about some example of victim stories now that we have cleared out what was the amount of victim, who was the predators. They were Asian males. Uh, Absolutely absurd. But let's talk a bit about some of the actual stories that is stated in the report, that is stated in court, that is that's the some of the girls' experience. So as you can read, I will not just I will not read them myself. I think you as a listener maybe be better at English than I am to begin with, so that will not make sense. But just to see some of the quotes, you can see that a child was dosed with drugs and alcohol, and she was threatened if she if you told them about the rapes. One there's also stated that one child was being prepared to give evidence, received a text from the predator that her younger sister uh, will happen the same things that will happen to her. You also see that school raised alert that over the years about children as young as 11, 12 or 13 were picked up outside school by cars and taxis. Oh my god. By large number of unknown males in Runham. Unknown males. Again, even when kids are being picked up by random males, random Asian males, let's call them that, even there people are not, but how could this have happened? So you have 1,400 girls are being raped by multiple males, and they're even taken into taxis. Like that's a company. So companies are using girls, driving them around, sexual exploitate them, maybe also make a buck at the same time. Why wasn't this? Well, so they alerted to who? I would assume they alerted to the police. Why didn't the police interfere? Who was in control? Who had the political power? Maybe some policemen alerted to higher ups. when those higher up might be some from the Labour Party, why didn't they do anything? Why didn't you try to make some awareness about this? How can it even happen in broad daylight? Like I couldn't even imagine that, seeing that, walking down the school, seeing 11 years old being picked up by not um, not their parents, by older males, by picked up in cars and taxis. Like even if they didn't do anything to the girls, why would you not say anything? Why wouldn't you interfere? Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Yeah. And you can see more that her family received threats that she would be forced into prostitution. Child was assaulted by other victims. So again, like almost all the cases, it's not one predators. Almost all the cases that I read in this report, there are multiple predators. Also, furthermore, one child was 13 years old when she was groomed by a violent sexual predator who outwarded her and trafficked her. Again, not only did they sexual assaulted her, they also used her as a financial gain. That is at least my interpretation of trafficking her. Yeah, victim. Sorry, yeah, here I am. Was a victim of serious abuse when she was a young child. She was groomed for sexual exploitation by a 27-year-old male when she was 30 years old. How in the name of whoever is up there is this possible? So a male that was 27 years old, he was almost 30 years old when he raped a child. She was subjected to repeated rapes and sexual assault by different predators. Again, it's not only one, it is all the time multiple predators. It's like, sorry, I'm laughing, it's just fucking insane. And they were repeatedly threatened to, and she was repeatedly threatened to kill herself. Sorry. So it's also something you will get a picture of. I think the report stated that one in three girls that they talk to have suicides thoughts, and some of them even also killed themselves. So these girls, after they were sexual assaulted and left by their predators, there were several of them that has suicide thoughts, and you can understand why. And it is just, yeah, I cannot find my words of how crazy that is, how much guilt that is on the police, how much guilt there is on um, the grown-ups in that city. Yeah, she was 11-year-old when she was already and sexual assaulted. Again, what's in the name of whoever is up there is fucking going on? 11 years old. Yeah. Was groomed by a known sexual offender via Facebook when she was 30. Around that time, she was required treatment at an accident and emergency when she was taken there in an extreme intoxicated state. So I'm not talked about that a lot, but the word groomed, it is mainly that these Asian males, uh, Pakistani heritage Asian males, they often starting by treating them fairly well, so they give them things, they took them to whatever place with the cars, and then they um, shift in their behavior. They start to give them alcohol and drugs, and by that it was easier to sexual assault them. Yeah, so that's what the grooming means, that they start by being somewhat nice, and then all of a sudden they push the boundaries more and more and more, and all of a sudden some girls is being argued by multiple predators and traffic around north of England. Yeah, so I have nothing else to say. This is just very quick recap of the report. I think you should read it yourself. I know I may not be the best commentator ever, maybe below average, so to say, but I don't really care. If there's 5 people watching this, it is fine for me. And if you don't think I'm at all good at this, it's totally fine. Just read it, the story yourself. Try to remember some of the facts, like how high the amount were, like 1,400, and just share the story. Go watch some other YouTube video about it. Go tell your friends about this. Go tell whoever should know this, because this is another. I'm not talking so much about this, but this certainly is something that is a underlying problem. So this is not only happened in this town of Rotherham, it is an underlying problem. We also see a rape statistic coming out of Sweden, which have been, I think it's almost 100% higher since 2030. No, sorry, 2013. You also see the same in Germany, where you have a large amount of group gangs, group rape gangs, where the majority of the predators is not born in Germany and is mainly from the Middle East or north of Africa. And I don't think that is anything wrong in saying that. I think not mentioning that is why these problems happen to begin with. It is why it was not stopped at the first victim. So again, how can elderly males go into a school and pick up girls that's not related to them and just drive them around? Why the fuck didn't anybody interfere there? Yeah, I think the reason why it got so out of control was that political correctness, people was afraid of saying the truth, and the predators could more or less do whatever they want without consequence. Yeah, so share this around. If you find me annoying, find my voice annoying, my accent, my way of pronouncing things is maybe a bit weird, I don't care. Just go read it yourself, go watch some other videos, just share this effing around. Thank you so much. Bye bye.